Okay, I want to talk about the future of industry and especially how AI is transforming industry and manufacturing. I'm here at Bosch ConnectedWorld 2026 and I am here with Tanja Rueckert. You are part of the management board, you're the chief digital officer at Bosch, and you had a fascinating keynote yesterday and you were hosting the event. One of the points you were making is that the world is moving from Industry 4.0 to this AI-enabled world where you were talking about this tipping point or this inflection point. Do you want to share something about that?
Yeah, so first of all, Bernhard, thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate the interest. So what we see right now is that Industry 4.0 had a lot of promises for all of us, and they were going beyond connectivity, so that we do something with the data. And if we are honest to ourselves, this did not happen. We never got to autonomous decisions and actions. And now we have the chance to get from this linear progress, exactly what you said, to this tipping point where we are bending the curve. And this is only possible with generative AI and agentic AI. And why is it possible? Because now we can do something with the data. The machines can understand the data. We have agents who do not only the analysis, but trigger workflows, automatic workflows. And this is a complete difference to before, where we had more or less only connectivity. Because at the end, it will lead to self-adapting, self-optimizing factory, which was the original promise of Industry 4.0.
Fascinating. So how would you describe this AI-enabled factory of the future?
It starts already when you build a production line. You start obviously to design it first in software, and the full production line is running before a single bolt is tightened. This is something what we didn't have before, and it should not end at ramp up. It really should continue. The engineering digital twin transforming into production digital twin, which gives us a vast amount of data already. And with this data, agentic AI, we can also feed our agents. So they get it from the digital twins, they get it from the machine data, maintenance history, but also from plants and production lines around the world. And bringing this all together, you can work with agents at your production line, which help you in the second you need it.
Yeah, so let's dive into the digital twin bit in a bit more detail. So I like this idea that you have the digital twin at the beginning, where you actually simulate things before you ever build them. And then you have the operational digital twin that helps you to optimize and adapt as you go along. How do you have any example to bring this to life?
Yeah, we have done it with our customers and also internally already. So the engineering digital twin, we had first projects already beginning of this year. So the whole project was running last year. But how is it happening? So in the past, you ordered steel, you ordered hardware, you assembled hardware. And I'm not sure if you have ever been in a launch. It's normally, it's painful, right? It's several weeks, months, because the problems occur. And this is nothing against whoever built this, because you didn't see it before. But now, if you have a live replica of your line before it is finally built, you can try out things. You break edge cases in the simulation. You do collisions. You have your software code. And I'm coming from the software industry. When it hits the final line, this is really different than when you try it out. So, and here we can simulate how it is in reality. So it will not break later on. So this helps that the uncertainty of ramp up really collapses to a moment, and the line just runs. But you ask also the operational digital twin, because often the pure engineering digital twin is an obsolete at commissioning. But we believe it should continue to get active and live from all the data every second, every minute. And this is the operational digital twin, which then can automatically fix some of the, I would say, smaller issues, because an agent tells, hey, here a temperature creep, and then you nudge the line back with an automatic procedure, and you don't need anybody to be there in the middle of the night to do this.
Interesting. So how does this change the nature of the people operating those systems and the impact on skills, and how will jobs be transformed?
I think the roles will change, yeah. The colleagues, the experts will become more coordinator, and they will work with a team of agents. So we have examples where operators go in the morning and they brief their team of agents, yeah. So it's kind of a joint team between digital teammates and human teammates. And this, of course, is not already rolled out everywhere. We are still in the beginning. But just imagine this. You come in the factory in the morning, you brief your team of agents, and then you also tell them a little bit how to behave. If it's so critical, you need to involve me. If it's not so severe, you can just act and directly start the optimization. And this is how I imagine it already for the future. And we see first examples in some of our plants and in plants of our customers.
So explain to me how, or the role of Bosch in helping industry transform. So for people that might not understand what you do and the various components that you help companies with, how do you facilitate this transformation in industry, and what are the key contributions?
So I think it's good to know that we are at home in the physical world, right? It's industry, but it's also mobility, it's building and energy and consumer. Why do I mention this broader context? Automation is not only, I think, state of the art in industry, but also in mobility and how you industrialize, produce in the automotive industry. And this is helpful because many people say, oh, agentic AI is something completely new. I think it's also the next level of automation. Yeah, you have machines before, they were automation ready. Now they need to be automation and AI ready. And this is what we are bringing together at Bosch. We leverage our own factories. We have more than 230 factories. So everything I talked about before, like our digital twins, this we test out in our own factory and then immediately know, does it work or does it not work? And this is obviously the advantage we have. First, the different disciplines, our domain expertise in the physical world, which for us is a daily business, and having the chance, I don't want to call it our own lab, but test it out in our own environment.
Whenever you let machines and robots perform autonomously, especially in a more agentic way where we don't actually know exactly what they're going to do, safety becomes a really important part, right? So what's your position on making sure that this is all safe and secure?
Safety for us is not optional. I think also trust is not optional. Bosch stands for secure and trustworthy solutions. That is for us the highest priority. Though, having said this, when we are in a safety critical environment, we need to make sure that we have the human in the loop or we have the right control loops. And this is something what we see more and more, that we have to define what are business critical steps, what are maybe office topics where it's not as important that you have all those control loops. But if you are on the factory loop, it's clear that we have the human in the loop, the role does change, but there will be no complete automation without human oversight. And what we need is a level of meaningful controllability. Because if someone says, oh, I don't trust an AI system, think about in real world, do you trust your car? Do you trust your machine? Do you trust the next person? Trust needs to be built. And trust in AI systems is different. So we need the right boundary conditions. We need to know sure what is the limit and then build control loops around it so that we make sure that while we increase the speed and automation, but we still have kind of the last word, that nothing goes in the wrong direction.
So what use cases in industry are you particularly excited about? If we look maybe slightly into the future, where can you see the application of AI making a real difference?
Well, I see in manufacturing that the whole current system architecture will completely change, right? You might know about this automation pyramid, this will, in my eyes, collapse. And I know we discussed this also some years ago with Industry 4.0, but now finally there's a chance with also having agents, so agentic AI in manufacturing, covering parts of the process, of the workflow, and taking it over again with human in contact, with human in control. And this starts from having all data available, and not only from your machine, your line, but around the world, the information from all the plants you have connected. Coming to analysis of equipment failure, also here, history for all faults, for every fix ever done somewhere in a plant around the world. And then it goes to, we also have an agent for smart maintenance, which schedules the maintenance if the fix before proposed by the shop floor AI agent who analyzes the anomaly does not work. And at the end, if you have ever worked in a production environment, there is also people want to continuously improve. And this can be supported and augmented also by AI agents, because they have the information, what is maybe the best way a process runs. And with that, kind of have the self-learning, self-adaptive factory of the future, which I believe is very close to our current time.
Yeah, this is super exciting. So what is stopping your potential customers, industry leaders from turning this into reality? How do they really scale AI up and come close to the vision that you've just outlined?
So I think let's start with what are key ingredients. Because what are key ingredients are AI capability and technology, check mark. I would say that's actually evolving, and if someone is missing something, will happen. Yeah. The next one is domain expertise. And if you go to the factories or many of the companies, you have a huge domain expertise. And I think so this is also great. The third one is data. I would say there's a lot of data. We have it, for example, in our 230 plants, but we had to also invest to make sure that we have the right connectivity and data in a format, and make sure that we also pick the right data. So data might be something where we have to work on. And then, which is kind of overarching, is the people who are open for it to use it, to adopt it, to believe in it. And this is the leaders, as well as the experts, as well as the line operators. All of them need to think this makes us more competitive, and I move this forward.
Fascinating. I'm always interested in the future trends that you are having an eye on. So we've talked a lot about generative AI, agentic AI, physical AI embedded in robots and systems. What other technologies do you keep a close eye on that might become more important over the next few years?
So we also have a Bosch Tech Campus. You might have heard about it, where we ask in several countries, thousands and thousands of people, what is the most relevant technology of the future? And guess, in every country it's AI. So I also believe 70%, by the way, said it's AI, and it's generative AI, agentic AI, and I truly believe it will go further. So this is not the last move we have seen in the AI environment. But if we go, what else? It's also the combination of AI and robotics. So I think coming from different disciplines, now connecting hardware with AI, making it physical AI, we have the software-defined everything. People know often the software-defined vehicle, but it's also the software-defined factory. We have a hydraulics division. We talk about software-defined hydraulics. You know, this is really in a direction where and combines this again with AI. And then in a few years from now, but really we should be careful to have some of the trends or hype them too early, is quantum computing and AI. This will be the next revolution where maybe we talk again.
Thank you so much, Tanja, for your time today. That was fascinating.
For me as well. Thanks,
you.
Werner.
And for anyone who ever wants to rewatch this conversation or hundreds of other like this, you can simply watch this on my YouTube channel or on any podcast platform where you can listen to it. Thank you.
Thank you.